Good morning, traders. Chris Buss here with Traders Profit Compass with your morning look at markets for Monday, November 16th. Okay, guys, I hope you had a nice weekend. Hope you figured out a way or two to recharge your batteries, get ready for the week. So let's dive right in. It's 7:20 as I'm starting the video, and some positive news from Moderna just crossed the tape on their COVID vaccine efforts, reporting that their efficacy was above 90%, and more importantly, possibly, is that their vaccine concoction does not have to travel at near, frozen conditions like the Pfizer one has to be transported. So from a logistical standpoint, that recipe seems like it would be a lot easier to use, but still early in the trials, but positive news continues to come out. And I was watching the tape when that actually happened, and big red bars on all the FANG names and QQQ. IWM popped. It's up about 3% in the pre-market. So this idea that the rotation to value and cyclicals sticking took another positive step forward this morning on that news. Now we'll see today if they faded or what they do, but I think going forward, as explained in the Weekend Profit Navigator, that short-term disappointments with rising COVID cases, etc., are being looked through as we get more and repeated vaccine information coming out. I think the market's looking through the dark winter possibilities for COVID, looking forward to the spring when these vaccines can be rolled out on a wide scale and start making a difference with the elderly, healthcare workers, and then eventually the broader population. So let's look at some charts. SPY 2-hour. We're set to open around 362, 363, right in that area. I think we've got this prior high from last Monday here at 364. I think that's going to make for a nice pivot this morning. If you're not in, look to this 364 as a potential area to break out from, and a place where you can objectively get long with a stop just below. Now remember, as we open up here in the 362, 363 area, we're going to have an open gap that goes all the way down towards, 358. So that's going to be a sizable gap below. Don't discount the possibility of a flash gap fill. You know they love to do that. That's what they did over here. They faded it right out of the gate. So depending on how nimble you are trading that open, be aware of that being a possible, quick scenario coming out of the gate this morning. So mark your gap once the gap is established, wherever the opening price is, and then kind of play it from there. But if, let's say this happens, let's say we get a gap backfill down to 358, I would be a buyer there. Buy that gap fill, set your stop, say just a little below 357, and then look for a move back up towards 364. So you'd be risking 1 to make 6. That would be a nice trade if you could anchor down in this 358, 357 area, and then look for a move back up after that quick gap fill. Here's a 30-minute chart. You can just see it a little closer. Wherever we may open, a breakout above 364 is blue sky with a gap below that could come back here where you could anchor along should it backfill quickly. I mentioned a decent sized red bar on QQQ. The last time I looked, it is set to open flat, which sets it up right here along 290. That was our pivot last week, 290 on Friday. I still like using that number here this morning. I think there's going to be some pressure to the downside. I don't know if that means sell-off or just treading sideways. But if you can see or get a move slightly above 290 and then a break back below, that would be a good short. And just stay short against 290 and see if there's a move down towards this 287 or potentially 285 at the top of the gap. I think that would be a way to play that. And you can see it here on the 30-minute chart a little better. 290 is right here. It's a perfect spot, perfect pivot point. If it breaks below, you can be short. If it holds and you're constructive and you see some positive price action in the FANG names, you can be long against 290 with a stop just below. I think that long trade may be under pressure today, but as long as it holds, there's, it's objective to be long. I just think that there's a better than 50% chance that it either won't hold or will open below 290 and potentially get some downside action today. IWM. It was set to open around 176. In the pre-market on that news, it popped above this 177 area, which was the opening high of last week. If it can hold that, 177, I think you can be long there and look for blue sky overhead, but be aware there'll be a big gap below all the way down to 173.50 was the close on Friday. So that'll be, what is that? That's going to be a $3.50 gap below. So if there's a little breakout above and then it fails, I'd get short for that backfill to 173.50 and then try to anchor your long right here against 173 and look for a move back higher. You can see that here really well on the 30-minute chart, where we'll open possibly up here in the 177s. If it breaks below, look for that gap fill. I would try to buy 173 for a move back up, and as long as it holds 177, then I think you can stay long. I think all these FANG names are going to be either under pressure or just going sideways today, but let's run through it quickly. Facebook, 275 remains the pivot. You've got overhead resistance on this uptrend line and lateral resistance at 280. If you were to get a breakout above this trend line, I think you can take it long there and look for 285. But I think a more likely trade is a breakdown below 275, where you can get short and look for a move back down to test this prior low at 265. Apple was pretty resilient last week. Chart looked better than most. You've got a confluence here at 120. I penciled in a downtrend line that comes in right at 120 where there's some lateral resistance. If you got a pop above 120, I think that's a nice long, because you'll have two layers of support below the downtrend line and this lateral support. I like that long above 120, but I think that what's more likely is going to be to get short against 120. Look for 118 first, and if 118 were to break, I think you're going to get 115 as the next stop to test this prior low. So we'll see which way it pans out. But Apple traded down on that Moderna news, so we'll have to see where it opens. If it opens down here around 118, you can use that as your pivot. Tesla, pretty weak on Friday. Really didn't get anything going. I think we've got some good levels here. They've been working great for us. 410, above 410, I think you can look for 420. Above 420, look for 430. But anything below 410, I think, is coming back to test this low here at, I think it's like 401. And anything below that, then 390 becomes a target. Microsoft, you've got a level here, 217, with a overhead resistance layer at 219. I would use 219 as your pivot. I wouldn't, where this opens, it's probably actually going to be below 217. So let's revise that. Let's use 217 as the pivot. Anything below 217, you can lean bearish and look for 213 and possibly 210, 209.50. If you get that initial move lower and you see things stabilizing, then you can take a long back up towards 219. This morning, if 219 were to pop, I think you can get long there and look for 221.50. Like I said, I think that's going to be a tougher trade this morning. Trying to get long on the FANGs. I think the pre-market sentiment against those names is pretty robust. Amazon was also trading down. 3,100 has been a good level for us. We've got 3,150 here. I think anything south or below 3,150, you can lean short for 3,100, and then 3,050. Anything below 3,050, I think you're going to come back and test 3,025 and potentially down to 29.75. If price were to pop 3,150, then you can look for 3,200. Google, we had this long consolidation here over several days where it didn't do anything, and then into the close on Friday got a little pop up here to 1770. I think you use 1780 as your pivot. If you get a breakout there, nice long to shoot against. Otherwise, you're at the top of the box. I think you can take an objective short there and look for a move back towards the bottom of the box at 1720. If it opens somewhere here in the middle of the range, I would probably just let it go. You don't really have a great line to shoot against. I don't like that. I don't like those trades in the middle of the range. So me personally, I would let that go and wait for a move to the box boundaries before trying to take a position. Netflix. This also printed a sizable red bar in the pre-market. So despite where I have my arrows, I think 480 is going to be your pivot today. Above 480 keeps it relatively bullish, but below 480 I think brings 465 into view as a back test of this prior low that we saw last week. And then of course, if we were to lose that prior low at 465, then we're coming down much lower. Now let's look at a few names. We got trapped in YETI on this big red bar here. It's rehabilitating itself, which is nice. It did print a big green candle on the Moderna news, so maybe we will get bailed out on that. We'll have to, wait and take a look. A name that we're probably not going to get bailed out on is Snap. We may have to just take our loss on that. BABA. We talked about this 265 as being a key pivot point. If you got short there, stay short. Look for 245, or at a minimum, this 200-day moving average at 250. I think we're going to be coming down. And if there's continued pressure on tech and Chinese tech, I think this will continue to move south. So that turned out good. New name, this Schrodinger. It's a software name. I think it just had earnings. Put in this nice double bottom with bullish divergence. Of course, it would have been good to catch it 10 days ago right here, but we didn't. But on a move above 60, that would trigger this double bottom structure and point to a move towards 75. I like that as a long. I like alarming 60 as a place to get long, anchor it there, and then look for a measured move up to 75. I like that setup. Ring has been trapped in this $50 range since May. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6.5 months toggling between 300 and 250. Now, last week on Thursday, there was a little breakout, and now Friday was a red day, back right at this 300 level. Notice 2 prior fake breakouts that resulted in moves back to the bottom of the box. Watch this one closely, and certainly pull up earnings. I'm not sure when they are, but if this has another fake out, I think it's going to come back to this 250 again, where the 200 is. I think that would set up as a nice trade. So keep an eye on Ring for that false breakout and move back into the trading range. It's, if you've been on this, just toggling back and forth, that's been a nice range trade for you. And, kudos to you on that for recognizing it and buying support, selling resistance. It'll keep working until it doesn't. So right here, we'll have to see what's going to happen. On a breakout, if that holds, target's 350. So that'll be a nice long if it holds. So we'll have to watch closely. Axon. This is a defense name. Its main business is body cams and tasers, and they've been doing really, really well. You've got a bracket trade set up after this gap up. It's been consolidating between 115 and say 126. You can play inside this bracket for sure if you want, or you can wait for either a breakout or a breakdown below the bracket, but that's going to set up as a nice trade either way. Either way, I assume it's going to break to the high side. So if you're motivated and think the same thing, if you got a little move back in here to 115, I'd take that long, look for a move back up to the top of the box, and then hopefully a breakout, and that would be a nice winner for you. let's wrap up with an energy name. LNG, which is Cheniere Energy, has been oscillating between 44 and 54 since last May, and now we're at the top of the range at near 54. Above 54 is a $6 void, and then if we use the width of this trading range as $10, that would give us a measured move up to 64 on a breakout here. So what I'd like you to do, if you're interested in an energy name, is to set yourself an alarm at 54. And if we get a break above, let's try to take that long and look for a first move to 60, and then potentially a T2 target of 64. So, okay, that's all I have for you this morning. Let's recap real quickly. Positive news from Moderna. Lifts SPY in IWM, giving more fuel to the cyclical value trade. Technology QQQs take a hit on that news, following up the same type of price action from last week. So in your intraday trades, if you're motivated and you're used to doing that, on the FANGs, I would be looking short more than I would be looking long. Of course, price is the final arbiter, so you can't just go in with that thesis and hold on to it. But I think there's going to be a fair amount of selling pressure in those big FANG names and renewed strength in IWM and the cyclical sectors. We've got banking, industrials, energy, materials. You can sift through those names, as I'll be doing this morning, looking for objective setups that we can anchor long positions against an objective level. So I will pass those names along to you as I find them. But let's leave it there for now. If you're new to the channel and like what you've heard, why not subscribe? Hit that alarm bell. You'll get notified of all my content. Over in the show notes are convenient links to both the blog site, where you'll find a lot of helpful and interesting articles, along with a link to subscribe to all my content. You'll get a convenient email each and every time I send out new material. You'll also get an invite link to our trading room, where our community of aspiring traders continues to grow and grow. We'd love to have you be part of that team and welcome you to the community. It's a great place to not only get new ideas, but also expand your trading network, which is a great thing. So anyways, have a good morning of trading. This has been Chris Buss with Traders Profit Compass. Talk to you next time.